Hey everybody, it's Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, and we're finally getting around to finishing our Estes build here, the Low Boom SST, as it looks like this. In the intervening time, I have prepped it, primed it, painted it, and the coat's pretty good. It's not perfect. Um, in the fins look pretty good, but there's definitely still a little bit of grain that's in there. Probably could have used another treatment of the wood fill combo before I actually painted it, but it's fine. I mean, it's good enough. The thing that looks not great, of course, still is the seam here, but overall, it looks fine and it's ready for the decals. So the decals, get this out of the way here for a moment. The decals were pretty tricky. There are a lot of them to cut out, and I haven't even finished them all here. Probably the most onerous one here is this, which I believe is going to go onto the engine pod part. Normally I do these with scissors. This is about as far as I could actually trim it with scissors. So I'm going to use my knife here on the rest of it, and I generally don't like using the knife if I can avoid it. But that looks pretty good. I don't need it completely cut out. That should be plenty. There's actually a second one I can do. This, yeah, like I said, I generally prefer using scissors for this, but I couldn't use scissors for all of the work. This part was pretty bad, and there are a lot of other little like red flare pieces, a whole mess of them actually. They're curved, they're pretty narrow, they were not easy to trim out. So I am not going to, of course, film myself applying all the decals. This is probably going to take me, I don't know, maybe a solid half an hour worth of work. Remember, when you're doing this, the best thing that you can do is get yourself the package art here and try to figure out where all the decals go based on that. Now, there are a whole bunch of little black boxes, and they're all going to end up on the nose cone here. So I'm probably just take the nose cone off and work on this part. Like, here's the black box, that's going to get one. There's a black box, and the canopy here, that has its own special little piece. So that's going to take a decent amount of work to do. But you might as well start by, there's one other thing. So the instructions, the old instructions right here, this is the entirety of the specifics. It says apply decals. Decals, it's not very helpful, and it's a very small picture. The other thing that's worth noting too is it says red paint. So these little pieces of wood that we apply they're on top of where the engine pod attached, those are supposed to be red. Yeah. So they're way too small that I would want to mask things off and try to paint them with spray paint. I haven't honestly decided yet if I want to bother trying to hand brush them. I honestly, I'm going to put the decals on and see what it looks like. If I want to brush them, it's not going to be anywhere near the decals, so it's easy enough to do. We'll just see what it's going to look like. So anyway, yeah, where are my decals supposed to go? Well, again, use the box art. That's about as good as the suggestion as I can make here. So let's start with this one right here. Actually, this could stand to be trimmed up a little bit. Yeah, you know what? Actually, that's probably not bad as it is, but I'm just going to trim it on general principle. There we go. Here I have my hot water in a little custard cup. These are water slide decals, which of course they have their own advantages and disadvantages. I think they look better. The finish quality is better than the stick-on decals. They tend to last longer, provided that you clear coat them, which I'm going to do. Anyway, so put it in the warm water until it just ever so slightly begins to release from the backing. Know where you're going to put it. This one happens to go here on the tail fin. The tail fin, looking at it too, the grain on that is not great. So that's not my best work right there. Okay. Make sure it's nice and straight. That's pretty straight. And then I've got my piece of paper towel here. Oops, there we go. And I'm holding it down on one end and just drying as I go. That looks pretty good. Generally, it's a good idea to like load up the next one while you're working too. Um, why don't we try one of these? These are the pieces that go on the engine. So they're a little big for my cup. These ones in particular, we're going to get to later. I'm going to get to later. They're obviously way too big, but I'm willing to bet that they're going to start to curl up on themselves. So that actually should be pretty easy to deal with. Now, this I need to check my picture. Actually, might as well pull that out here. So it looks like the long part, the longer of the two arms of this thing, is going to go on the top. So I need to make sure that I'm putting it in the right place. So it looks like it should go like this, more or less. Yeah, that looks right. Okay, so it looks like in noting this too, I'm going to have too much. I didn't trim the sun up enough. So I'll make note of that for future reference. I'm going to have to trim that after I've basically gotten it attached. The other ones I'm going to trim up before I put them in the water. Now this is difficult to take the backing off because the decal is narrow and oddly long. So I'm not getting it off smoothly. That's okay. Just remember, I don't need to get this perfectly right first time. It's the glory of the waterside decal versus the stickers. Okay. Now it looks like, there we go. I'm going to just pull this gently. So when you're working with these, it's obvious how thin they are. It is not hard to tear them. It is also not hard to deform them, which is something that you also want to avoid. So I had a little bit of extra coverage there. It's right now it's inside, kind of inside the engine, like intake here. I'm just going to let that sit because I don't really want to try to trim it while it's wet. It's going to be easier to trim when it's dry. And I'm just going to, well, that I should be able to just snip with my scissors, actually. It should work well enough there. Okay. I'm pretty pleased with that. I do need to trim it. This one, for whatever reason, I trimmed up nicely. I don't know why that one was so bad. Just that one. Go figure. All right, so I'm going to do a couple more of these. I don't need to bore you with watching, literally watching water dry here. That's not maybe not the best cinema ever committed to YouTube, but you know. Anyway, yeah. So looking at all these, it took me a good half an hour, maybe almost 45 minutes to trim out the decal pieces. Now, admittedly, I was doing other things at the same time, um, but yeah, it is fairly time consuming. So this one is going to go here, which means you're going to have a hard time seeing me do it. All right. Again, I'm going to stick my thumb. I need to detach this a little more, actually. It's still a little. There we go. Anyway, attach. And I'm going to hold it down with my thumb, and I'm going to carefully pull the backing. And this is saying if you got something, if you got more than just the backing, that would be problematic here. Because this plastic is, well, I actually don't know what the decal is made out of. I'm pretty sure it's plastic. But anyway, it's so thin that you could tear it easily. But just as bad is you can deform it by pulling on it. So you can like mess up the shape. And that would be bad too, because that you can't really fix. Right. This is not quite in the right place. So I'm going to try to use my finger to sort of pull the parts of it that aren't exactly where they're supposed to be in the direction I want it to go. But I'm making sure that my finger is wet here, so I'm not damaging anything. Not soaking wet, because remember, part of this construction here is paper. Now I've painted over it, so it has some element of waterproofing to it, but yeah, it's not it's not indestructible. All right, that actually looks pretty good. I'm pleased with that. At this point, I am going to wrap up my video here. I probably need more water anyway. It's getting a little tepid. So I'm going to do the rest off camera because you don't need to watch that. And then we'll come back for the finishing touches. Oh, I'm going to be clear coating this in between videos as well. So just a coat of clear spray paint. The reason I'm going to do that in between is one of the finishing touches is this back here. There's an engine mount, a screw-on engine mount that's going here. This is a piece of tape, and I put that on there just to protect the underneath, so that I don't, like, if I put too much paint on here, the end cap might not slip on, and that would be a problem. Anyway, so more decal work. Yeah, off camera. See you in the next video.